Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chatting With. My name is Steve Akley, and I have a special guest today. I've got my buddy Whiskey Rick here from Key West, and we'll talk a little bit about the things he's got going on down there. A whiskey fan in Key West, who'd have thought it? But it's true. It's true. So, hey, how you doing, Rick?
Well, I'm good. I'm just kicking off this day, and it's great to chat. And we're on a good note. The weather has returned since you all were down here. We're now back up in the high 70s, the low 80s. Sorry, it wasn't as warm when you were here, but I think it's still warmer than where you guys
we had one really, I guess, considered a bad day. I'm smart enough to realize when it's 8 degrees at home and it's 60 and breezy in Key West, I'm still happy with the weather down there. So I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm just cold to the bone." Really? Why don't you go home and then tell me what you think? So yeah.
Well, I crack up because I'm doing different tours, talking to different people. People are wearing winter jackets. I ask them where they're from. They're like North Dakota, Minnesota, Boston.
Right.
And I'm like, it's high 60s.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That's what it was like when we were there. It was in this. I was still in shorts and a Tommy Bahama shirt, the usual attire. Yeah. And I see this one guy, and he's all bundled up. He literally has on like a parka. He's got on the big thick gloves, the big gloves. He's got on a hat that comes all the way down past his ears and has the buckle thing. And so I'm thinking, gosh, boy, he's from Miami or something. And because he's like, "Boy, you're haughty. Where are you from?" I so recognize the accent. He's from Boston. The guy was from Boston. Yeah. And he's like, I hate breeze. It's too cold. I don't like the wind.
Well, okay. And as you're saying, I'm usually in t-shirt and shorts year round, but I do need to admit, when I joined you all at the pool for the whiskey sipping that one evening, I did put a hoodie on. I was wearing a hoodie.
yeah. So that's all right. But tell me a little bit about, first of all, how do you end up in Key West? And then we'll talk about what you're doing down there, because it's pretty cool and an opportunity for someone that's going to Key West. So actually, I already been sending people your way.
Yeah. And I appreciate that very much. This is like most of my life. I've been very blessed. Whenever I'm starting to fall, people pick me up, and life was crazy about 5 years ago, and I was homeschooling my son in the RV. We were having a great time, but the third grader got smarter than me. So brought him down here, was going to put him into school for the last half of third grade, spend 6 months in Key West, January through June, and kind of figure out where I was going from there. And I just want to set the stage that people watch this, I'll say, I want to move to Key West. I want to come here. And that is true. It's great to visit. It's great to live here. There's some challenges living here. So a lot of people come here and 6 months later, they're gone because it's just too dynamic. There are some, living expenses are high, but they're high in a lot of places. So I come down for 6 months. My son gets into school, gets in a good situation. The RV is getting too small, so I rent a house. We stick around for a few more years. I start substitute teaching. I start doing some tours and seeing what's going on. And gee, this is a pretty good place. And my son's got some great friends. The schools are good. So I'm fortunate. I am a homeowner now, and he is going to be starting high school next year. And the tour thing has just kind of expanded. I mean, COVID impacted all of us. And when we came out of COVID, I was doing some tours, and people were saying, "Rick, we really want to do something small. We don't want to be in these big groups." So Whiskey Rick Tours kind of fell in. I mean, whiskey is a nickname I picked up many years ago, a couple different versions of it. Mr. Whiskey from the Iraqis, Whiskey Rick, or just whiskey. I mean, so there's a couple variations, but so I kind of joke my story.
Right.
Kind of bring
and that kind of comes. It comes from a couple different things, right? So number one, you are a whiskey fan. So that's where it comes from. Your last name starts with a W, and you're in the military, and the substitute for whiskey or for W is whiskey, right? In the military,
the phonetic alphabet.
Whiskey Tango
Foxtrot, which unfortunately the Key West Distilling Company was one of the COVID casualties, and they had a Whiskey Tango Foxtrot whiskey that was very good. They had my favorite was a horseradish vodka. You want to do a Bloody Mary with horseradish vodka was great, and their juniper gin was great, but unfortunately, they didn't make it.
Okay, yeah, that's tough, man. But it's not been good. So it's actually been amazing the ones that have been able to hold on, because it's been so bad. So
yes. Well, I just got to plug the Legal Rum Distillery because I am a whiskey fan. This is the Caribbean. It's all about rum. but Paul Minton and his crew actually are fantabulous. They've got some wonderful things. They have a unfiltered raw rum, which is where I start my key whiskey tours. I will swing by there, get, say, folks, it's a rum, but you got to try it. Once they try it, they're like, wow. And it's, so it's a rum community, but there are a lot of whiskey lovers down here. And of course, as you saw, some of the other spirits and beverages.
Yeah. I have been seeing a lot of whiskey. I'm in a lot of whiskey groups, and so I've been seeing people say they're going to Key West. So I always just shoot a picture of your business card and say, hey, if you need anything or you were looking for a tour, call Whiskey Rick. So,
well, and that picture of me is holding up one of Paul's commemorative unfiltered rum bottles in a rum distillery. So there's kind of, it's Key West. So everything, we respect each other. If you like rum, that's great. I mean, heck, I'll do a Key whiskey tour. I'll do a Key ice cream tour. I'm flexible. For the Key Lime Festival, I actually lead a Key Lime pie hop where I have to go to 7 places and try different versions of Key Lime pie. That is hazardous duty, my friend.
Yeah, we're doing a playoff of that when we come down next time. We're going to do, we only selected 4 places, but we're going to do a Key West key lime pie judging. That's going to be one of the fun things we're doing. So we're going to go pick up pies, my wife and I, because we'll have a car because I drive. So we're going to go pick up pies, and then we're going to have our group judge and then find out what the best one is. And then we're going to have a trophy, and then we're going to take it to the place that wins and be like, you won the ABV Network. We're like, well, we didn't even know we were competing in this. What do you want?
That is the way to do it, because the Key Lime Festival used to have a key lime pie judging thing. Now it's just a key lime pie hop because it got very contentious.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully David Sloan, the local author, he says the best piece of key lime pie, the one you're getting ready to eat, because each one has got some, everyone's got different tastes.
Right.
When people say what's the best, that's very subjective. So I think what you're doing will be a lot of fun. Keep it low key. And as I said, the Key Lime Festival, we don't do judging of key lime pie. What we do now is we judge key lime martinis and margaritas.
Okay. Here's a funny thing. Let's circle this back around to whiskey again, because, there's no such thing in Kentucky. Now you can go to the New Orleans Bourbon Festival or whatever, but, judging, there will not ever be at a festival that the KDA is involved in, because there was one that came up like this. What's the best Kentucky bourbon? And they won't allow that. They won't allow them to do a contest that because they're like, we love all Kentucky bourbon and we're not picking out which is the best. And then, the advertising campaign where they're like, no, so they absolutely will never do that, which is pretty wild. You think that would be a big competition, but that they will not. Like I said, one popped up, a festival's going to do it, and they put pressure on them not to do it, and they ended up backing down. The festival backed down and got, because they were going to go after the judges. You can't be judges in other festivals if you're going to judge the best Kentucky bourbon.
So and that's same thought. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things on my tours. Everyone's like, oh, Whiskey Rick, you love, so what's your favorite rye? What's your favorite bourbon? And right now I'm actually digging, I'm from Michigan, and there's a distillery that's making a wheat whiskey I'm really enjoying. But there are so many different ones, and people will throw out the different high ends, the different, and I kind of say, oh, they're all great. I enjoy this, I enjoy that, but I also try and point them to the craft distillers, which is your network kind of point me on. I mean, Royce and Rebecca are awesome. And I got an opportunity to stop by their distillery and a couple other craft ones. And it's just, again, you've got the big names, which they're there. And then there's so many different ones, and they're all popping up. I mean, I stumbled onto a craft distillery in northern Georgia, Clayton, Georgia, of all places, and their rye whiskey is up in I've got levels of my whiskey. There's the bar, which help yourself. And then I've got some shelves you need to ask. You can have it. I'll share it with you, but I don't want you just grabbing it. And that's one of them, because it's got a great story behind it. And you stumble on these hidden gems off the beaten path.
Yeah. I like that. So tell me a little bit about your military career. What did you were in the Marines, right?
I spent 4 years active duty as a Marine tanker. It was a lot of fun. And then I left active duty, went to work for Disney, but the Marine Corps pulled me back in as the reservist. So I got to stay on tanks, it was kind of like I was living a dual life. I was walking around Tomorrowland and Fantasyland one day in Anaheim. And then on the weekend, I'm down at Camp Pendleton blowing stuff up on a tank. I mean, life was good. And then I turned over my tank company as an officer. I worked my way up. I joined the staff, and that was when 9/11 happened. And that changed everything. I found myself helping with the invasion of Iraq. And then as supporting as an officer. And then I came home and then got pulled into being an advisor. So I spent almost a year, mostly up in Mosul, Iraq, back in 2005. And then I got back and Marine Corps sent me to get my master's degree. So that was kind of a fortunate thing. And then my payback was 29 Palms, training advisors for Iraq and Afghanistan for a couple of years. And I got to go to Colorado and work at Northcom, and then wound up in Miami, and then wound up in Afghanistan working with the police for a year.
Wow.
So that was kind of an eye-opening experience. I was actually in Kabul when Mosul fell in 2014, and that was kind of tough. And then, of course, unfortunately, Afghanistan, everything that happened there, and you just kind of look at it, and it gives you a different perspective. And so that was, the Marine Corps kind of took me here, there, everywhere. I got some great experiences, and that's, but one of that was when I was in Miami, I was coming down to Key West for meetings, and a buddy was down here that I knew, and his kids would be my son's age, second and third grade. He's talking about how great the schools were. So when the homeschooling wasn't working out, I knew there was good schools in the Keys. So my thought was, I'll go to Key West, because everyone will say, hey, Rick, come here, bring John here. We'll put him in school. I'm like, well, I don't know anyone in Key West. I can go down there for 6 months and kind of figure out. I don't want to commit somewhere, because I figure if I go to a friend's or a family member's, I might stay there. So I went to Key West thinking this would give me 6 months to figure things out. 5 years later, I'm still trying to figure it out.
We're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. No, man, I think you're in a great place. And the weather, I feel alive when I'm there. I'll be honest, in the winter, I'm not a winter guy. I'm in St. Louis, we have winter, and I feel like I'm dead at walking around half the time. I don't know. It's like as soon as you even hit the border, as I drive into the Florida Welcome Center, I stop there and get the orange juice. And man, it's just like I feel better instantly being there. So yeah.
Well, while you were here, there was a great picture posted of Welcome to Sunshine State, and it had snow on the sign.
Oh, really?
People don't realize we get a little snow in North Florida. It doesn't last long, but so it was a great picture there. And yeah, one of the other things I did in the past, I actually was a ski bum before I was a beach bum. So I lived in Park City, Utah for about 5 years. And, the Beijing Olympics are going on right now. And I was actually on the hill working the events at Deer Valley. So that was a wonderful experience. And being part of the Olympics. So yeah, winter, it's fun. And if you're up in the mountains where you get some sun and the fresh air, but I hear what you're saying when you're just in the cold and it's sleet and you're driving around the roads and they get all nasty. It's that's not good for your soul. Coming down to Key West, and as you do at the end of January, it kind of recharges everyone. You get that sun and a little fun.
Yeah. It's especially nice too when the weather's bad at home. That I found is the best bonus you can get is when it's bad there and good.
Well, I have to laugh. I was back in Colorado. Oh gosh, 3 Januaries now. 3 years ago in January. It was warmer in Colorado Springs than it was in Key West.
Really?
Day.
Oh man.
Yes.
What are the chances? Yeah, that's pretty wild.
So,
Tell me about Disney. What did you do for them?
Well, I like to joke I was goofy, but the requirements to be a character, I couldn't do it. And plus, God love the people that put those suits on. They are very hot, especially on the hot days. No, I coming out of the Marine Corps, I got hired as a loss prevention undercover person, kind of looking for loss prevention type stuff. And then I got pulled into the security staff and made a supervisor, and then I got to help coordinate special events. So it's kind of cool being part of the security team, working with special events. I'm in the Super Bowl they had in California, and I helped carry Terrell Davis down after he won the Super Bowl, because he had been up celebrating the entire night. And when he was at Disney, that's when all the hits he had taken started kicking in. So I literally had one hand under his shoulders carrying him through the park and pushing people out of the way. And that was a magical moment for me. But yeah, it was fun working at Disney. And I realized after working at Disney at Deer Valley Ski Resort, I enjoy being places where people want to come and have fun. So when I got down to Key West just to take a time out, I look around, I go, wow, people want to come here and have fun. The amount of history on this island, I didn't realize the depth of it. And that's why I'm having fun doing tours.
Yeah,
I'm learning. I mean, Ponce de Leon, the Fountain of Youth, he actually came here first. But there's too many dead bodies, which we'll talk about on the ghost tour when you all come back next year and that story. But 500 years of Spanish history, and next month, Key West is celebrating its bicentennial, 200 years. And then everything that has happened since. I mean, it's just part of being a history nerd, doing these tours. I've got 4 books right now on Key West, ghost stories, history of the towns. I mean, the streets, you guys, when you're walking around, you're asking some questions. Each street is named for someone. So each
Yeah.
street has a history. Now, with that said, it's been 200 years. Some streets have 3 or 4 different claims to why it is named Ann Street, or some of the common names. And but that's where it's just fascinating. Of course, working at the Harry Truman Library, and that part of it is fun. And we're President's Day weekend, and Harry's grandson Clifton is down here. And I have not talked to him yet, Steve, but hopefully this year the event got canceled because of COVID. But if we can work out something where Harry's grandson can join you all, that would be a fun little nice thing if we can coordinate that.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Very cool. So tell me a little, because you're not in Key West, you're home. Are you there pretty much every day, or what do you do when you're not in Key West, by the way?
Well, I like to joke that I live in the suburbs.
Mhm.
Key West, mile marker 0, where we, so I can't remember, each of the tours I do is different. That's what I like about the small private tours. We kind of flex here and there, and I did 3 morning tours with you. And
Right.
some
They
of
can
them we get
all
the
ended
mile
in a
marker
different
0
place.
sign,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
we didn't. So that was kind of cool. The mile marker 0, where US 1 starts, goes all the way to Fort Kent, Maine, over 2,000 miles away. Well, the Florida Keys, when you start there at the mile marker 0, goes up to 122. When you hit 122, you're in Florida City, the mainland.
Yes.
So between 0 and 122, people who live outside of Key West say what mile marker they're at. And then you say Gulf side or ocean side, because US 1 goes north, south, east, west as it wraps its way up the Keys. So I live actually vicinity mile marker 23 ocean side. So I'm on Cudjoe Key towards the Atlantic Ocean. I used to live on Sugarloaf, mile marker 17. If you said Gulf side, that's Sugarloaf Lodge, where Hunter S. Thompson, the author, actually put the goat head in the toilet. If people read about that story, he did that here in Key West. And the Gonzo journalist was down here, no idea what he was tripping on. But just to give you an idea, this right here is actually my house. This is a picture that the realtor took before I bought it, looking out onto Cudjoe Bay. So
nice.
When I'm into Key, sometimes my most is 4 different trips into Key West, but that was due to a couple other things. Usually once or twice for tours, or if I get a couple days off, I'm taking the kayak out into the bay here, relaxing. If I can get, I don't have a boat. I have friends that have boats, and I take them whiskey and food, and we go out, fish, hit the sandbar. And that's one of the things, Steve, when you guys come down, if we can we're going to try and coordinate maybe a sandbar boat and take everyone out, because you go 7 miles offshore, you hit a sandbar, and it is a whole different experience.
Yeah. So what is on your key? What do you have in terms of businesses? Because I give us a feel for those of us that don't live in the Keys. Do you have restaurants and shops?
The Square Grouper and Broil are both on Cudjoe Key. What's probably the most known Cudjoe Key is we've got Fat Albert. That's the observation blimp that you might even see from Key West on a good day. It's kind of protecting the Florida Straits, keeping an eye on things. There's not a lot of industry from Marathon, about midway between the mainland and Key West. There's a lot of shrimpers working out there. There's some industry, there's stores, but then once you cross the 7-mile bridge, until you get to Key West or actual Stock Island, there's not much. So here, there's mostly, I joke, suburbs, mostly homes, but you have commercial fishermen going out. You have some small stores that are, you got some businesses, but it's mostly small storefronts where they work out of, and they do deliveries. Landscapers go and work on homes. The normal things that you have. There are a few hotels. The Sugarloaf Lodge I mentioned, a couple others. I live across near Venture Out, which is a kind of a huge, a lot of RVs will come here. It's got some mobile homes and some full-time renters. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But and that's one of the things, the Keys over the years. Sugarloaf Key was started for sponging. For a while, sponges, harvesting natural sponges. Now they're mostly synthetic, but there's still a good business here. They still harvest the sponges. Of course, the wrecking industry brought Key West into fame and fortune, and then cigar making, turtling. For a while, turtle soup was a thing, and harvesting turtles. You see those pictures today, and you're just like, wow. Kind of. And today, of course, for tourism, but for a long stretch, military. With the Cuban Missile Crisis, World War II, of course, World War I, the Spanish-American War, all that brought military here, and with that business. So this town has had his boom and bust. In 1930, they declared bankruptcy. A friend was telling me in the 70s, his dad owned a carpet store on Duval Street, And when he needed to cut carpets, he'd take it out, lay it out on the street and trim it out there because nobody was driving up and down the street back then.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. So, where did you grow up? Did you move around as a kid too? Like as an adult, you certainly moved around a lot because you're in the
Yes.
military and doing different things.
Yeah.
But as a kid, were you in one place, or did you also move around?
No, I actually grew up in a little town. I joke no one's ever heard of Flint, Michigan.
Mhm.
But yes, I did drink the water. I grew up in the city, and that gave a great environment. My uncle had a fruit farm over in Western Michigan, so I go to Pawpaw for the summers, help out there, work at a camp, and so I got a little country, a little city growing up. And then I went to Alma College, a little liberal arts school in Michigan, and then the Marine Corps kind of took me away from Michigan. It's been here, there, everywhere. I got stationed at Fort Knox, so I was right in the heart of Bourbon country. But this one, I was fresh out of college, and I didn't appreciate the whiskeys I do today.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and do you get back to Michigan still? You have family there or not?
I do. My father still lives in northern Michigan. I've got
Okay.
a stepsister. Family's kind of spread out like me throughout the U.S., but we're up there last summer, and that was kind of got up, Mackinac Island did that.
Right. Yeah.
So I try and get back to Michigan. Actually, my dad's a snowbird, so we just saw him last weekend up in Fort Lauderdale. Spent the weekend. My son was able to hang with grandma and grandpa, and I participated in a military hike, the Irreverent Warriors, and that's something your network, if they come to town, they help promote veteran suicide by bringing veterans together. And we wear the military shorts, which can be a little eye shocking for some.
You wear those?
I did. My son, unfortunately, drove by to show support, and my son saw me wearing those. And grandma and grandpa were like, "Okay, we know what you're getting for Christmas." I'm like, "Well, there's a hike in Key West in December." They go, "Okay, well, maybe your birthday, you're gonna get some new shorts."
Right. Right. Yeah, that's funny. What type of kid were you growing up? Were you the studious type? Were you into sports? Were you the popular kid? What did you have going on?
I joke I'm a history nerd today, and you look at some of my school pictures. I was, I got LASIK surgery, so I had the glasses. I was, kind of studious, but I played sports. Wasn't the greatest. I went to a smaller school, so it was in the same. So you're able to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and kind of how I am today. I've got my fingers in a couple different things down here, as I was sharing with you. I mean, I do tours, I substitute teach, I work at a bed store, I help a couple buddies out with different projects. Growing up, I was fortunate, that Flint, Michigan at that point was a very wealthy city. GM was doing very good in the 70s. So I had a lot of opportunities with the cultural center, some of the kids' sports they had, the Little League program. There was lots of opportunities. And when I was in high school, the mid 80s, that's when it changed, and GM kind of pulled out, and we became the murder capital of the U.S., which was, tough. And I've still got some friends that live in Flint. And when I go back and I visit them, it's great to see the city trying to come back from losing the car industry. But every time it comes back, then you have a water crisis or something else that kind of puts it back down. But again, a lot of pride growing up with Flint, Michigan, and seeing some of my high school classmates. I see a couple of them on TV from time to time or movies, but one is actually a city council member in Pontiac. A couple others have gone on to keep supporting the community in Flint, working at the hospitals, just doing the yeoman's work, supporting a couple teachers. I mean, God love one friend. She's been a counselor there for 30 years and just helping those kids and giving back. And that's where every community needs that. And so it's fun to see the friends who have gone on to different things, but also the ones who are still plugging away and just being good, hardworking Americans, setting an example for their kids and helping take care of the community.
Yeah. A question that I've got, because I'm always curious about people who live all over. What was your favorite place that you lived out of all these places?
All honesty, I really enjoyed Louisville. I mean, that was great. Be down at Fort Knox. I mean, we're learning, but we got to go up and experience. I was there for the Derby, although I don't remember the race.
Right.
Pictures saying I was there. There's Mosul, Iraq actually was a very beautiful town. I was one of the few Americans that got to walk through Old Town, where, I mean, we're talking going back to Jesus Christ time. Those streets were there and they were very narrow. We're walking through, talking to the people. I mean, I had an interpreter, but it was an amazing experience. And there's not too many places I would not go back to. And I've been able to live in, out in Long Beach, California, on the water there, down here, Park City, Utah, Louisville. I mean, those were all great. Living outside of DC when I was in the Marines in Quantico, that was an hour away, or well, depending on traffic, you could be 3 hours from DC. You're about 40 miles, but
Right.
being able to go up and see the monuments, some of the history there. So it's kind of like when you're talking about key lime and bourbon. What's your favorite? Well, where are you right now? Enjoy that. And there's so many opportunities. And this is, when I was homeschooling my son, we basically did 2 laps around this country. And each lap we hit a couple different places and found some amazing spots. And this is such an amazing country that there are numerous places, even places that people say, why would you go there? Well, you get there. And Flint, Michigan, a lot of people kind of go, ooh, but really it's a beautiful town. Great history. I mean, you got General Motors, there's some culture there. Great restaurants. I mean, some different things to do. So that's really tough to say what's my favorite place. There's a lot of great memories around this country.
Yeah. Flint, Michigan is interesting because the water thing is the true thing that really gets them down. And I don't even know where they're at on fixing that, because for a long time they really hadn't. But and you ever see that documentary, you can see the moment when they switch. It's like a big deal. They switch their water source, and that's what causes them all the problems.
Well, the big deal when they switch the water sources, when you look at what they were paying for water and opposed to what most other places were. I mean, I hate to say the financial decisions. Of course, everyone looks back now and they decided not to treat the pipes before they switched. And again, we all have those moments we wish we could redo, and it's very unfortunate. But when we're walking around Key West, remember all the work, the construction going on. They're replacing the sewer and water lines because those were built during World War II when they built those iron pipes. 50 years. It's been over 75. So now they got PVC pipe going in. I mean, that was causing nightmares on our tours, and as people are trying to drive around, it's continued on for a while. But from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to, that's a known water issue now with their infrastructure. This country is aging, from our bridges to the pipes to electric lines. I mean, after Hurricane Irma, we got all new infrastructure for our power lines. This country, we make things to last 20 or 30 years, and 50 years later, we're wondering why there's issues. Well, we're fortunate we got some extra time out of it. So Flint, the water crisis, it's still not perfect. There's still issues with the water, but I went to Alma College, and there's some, the Pine River supplies the water, and there's some problems there. And most people probably watching this, if they look into their local water supply, from the source to the pipes to different things, it's can be challenging. I'll put a plug in for the Aqueduct Authority down here. The water coming out of the tap is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, when you see Key West news, and I follow, because I just like Key West, but I always hear that global warming and is impacting Key West. Where do you see it there? I'm as a tourist, you come in and around Duval Street and all that. I don't see any issues, but they say that that there are areas where you can already see the impact on it, where the water levels are rising and stuff. And where is that?
Well, I mean, being a student of history, you see, we had an ice age for a period of time that really impacted this planet. Key West, there are some areas that are below seawater or sea level, and during the king tides, that just means it's going to back into there. The drains can't push everything out. When it rains during a king tide, the system can't handle it. I mean, Miami Beach is below sea level. People don't realize there's pumps going 24/7 in that city. When it rains, it all waits till the pumps get it out. So, we'll see how the forecasts go. I mean, there's a couple stretches of road that in a king tide will be underwater. They propose, and I've heard different estimates on when it might be. And again, people are doing different studies, and this is where it's kind of, whether it's COVID or water rise, everyone's kind of picks their facts they want to choose, and they write a narrative based on what they're analyzing. So,
I hate that an issue like this becomes a political thing. It shouldn't be. It should be like, let's just come together as a community, and this is what's actually happening, and how we're going to address it, I would think, would be how it should be handled. But it becomes very political,
very polarizing, and that's so.
Key West seems like such a fun place. Every once in a while you'll hear weird things too, like they're trying to on Duval Street do like they have in Vegas covered, and I saw that a while back, and I was like, don't do that, don't Vegasize Key West.
Well, and there was some very good, and they kind of pulled back on that. But the reality is there's some challenges, and this is where you can't make everyone happy. I mean,
Right.
Duval Street's fascinating. You know, there's a lot of fun. There's some people who would like to take more pedestrian, which I'll be honest, when I'm on tours and there's some motorcycles and there's a couple pickup trucks that have foghorns, they're going, they're making a lot of noise, which is disruptive. And when cars are just cruising around and around to be cool, they're not stopping and giving business. So there's some very good arguments to making portions of Duval pedestrian only. But there's a lot of people who like the status quo. There's a lot of people that like the way it is and the way it's always been. So there's different factions, and of course it'll come down to money, because who's going to pay for some of the upgrades? And of course, Duval Street, parts of that are hundreds of years old. I mean, there's a couple sections you saw Mallory Square that has the brick street still.
Yeah.
One of the things they did when COVID first shut everything down, the mayor very smartly and the city manager, they worked on the sidewalks. We're not having tourists here. Let's get the street work. Let's get the sidewalks. They repaved sidewalks, made it a lot safer, because there's a lot of cracks over years. The cement had cracked and created trip hazards. So there was a lot of work done then. And right after, when things were reopening, there was the one human family street crossing, which you saw with the rainbow flag. And when they did it, it looked fabulous. The paint was fresh, the white lines marking it. And then within a week or two, just the reality of cars rolling over it impacted how it looks. And so it'll be interesting to see how the city continues to grow and evolve. And the challenge we're having is, as prices go up, a lot of the workers, the homes they're living in are getting sold to second and third homeowners, or try to turn into vacation rentals. So the workers are leaving because they can't find a new rental. There's just no more space to build homes. So the overall keys is dealing with a lot of people wanting to live here, just not a lot of space, and therefore the real estate's going up, which is becoming a challenge to find people that are going to do the baggage delivery, the food service, the service workers.
Right.
There's a couple different stories on how it's going to evolve, and we will watch, and some of us will participate, sit in the forums and see how we can contribute to make sure this community stays viable for future generations.
Yeah. Yeah, I never understand how you the service workers can work there, but I guess they just got to hustle and do 4 or 5 different jobs, or live in and have a long commute every day, I guess.
Well, I'll put it back. You're from the St. Louis area. How many people commute into the city? How many people have multiple jobs there?
Right.
How many people are struggling? We are no different than anywhere else in the country or the world. There are some people that are very fortunate, and there are some people that are juggling. And my heart, you always look at the families that have young kids that are struggling to make ends meet, and they're working. And it's just, being a substitute teacher, you see some of the kids in the classroom and you hear their stories, and your heart goes out to them. And thankfully, this community is a place where we try and help those kids, help those families.
Yeah. So you enjoy travel. You got the RV, and you like to go around. Anything planned for this year? Any exciting trips or anything?
It's funny you asked that. I'm still, the RV has got 100,000 miles, which is young for a truck, but the cab, there's some issues with the fridge and the microwaves. They're 20 years old. They've been bouncing around. So I'm not sure the RV adventure I normally take. We actually have an opportunity to go up to North Georgia and hang out in the mountains for a week. So I don't know if the RV will go up there. We just might drive up there and maybe do another RV adventure at some point. But yeah, I've got a picture of the RV in Yellowstone. I actually came around a corner, there was a bunch of bison, and some random stranger got a couple pictures of me driving through the bison in the RV carefully. I was not
right.
Those are big animals. You're up right next to them, and they would have hurt the RV pretty bad. I think they would have been okay, but the fiberglass in the RV would not have survived. So it was one of those magical moments, just coming through this country and seeing that. So we'll take a look. And of course, I've got family on the left coast. I want to say the West Coast, because California, Oregon, Washington, I got family out there. But when you're in Florida, when you say the West Coast, that means Naples, Tampa. The West Coast of Florida is the Gulf Coast. So we kind of refer to the west of US as the left coast.
The left coast. Okay. Gotcha. Yellowstone is something, you're interesting here, because I always trying to explain Yellowstone to someone who's never been, I'll often refer to it as the Disney of national parks, because it feels like all those natural things are things like, if you're like Disney, create something that's like natural, but you got the boiling pots and don't, this one's filled with acid, and then you've got this cave where just steam randomly comes out of, and you got spouts of water and stuff. It's like this amazing natural phenomenon with all these different things. It's not just a one trick pony. There's all kinds of stuff there, and it's just the most incredible place, isn't it?
Well, and I was there in May, one weekend before Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Roads were still closed for snow removal. And this is one of those things, if your viewers want to Google up Yellowstone snow removal, the equipment they have is amazing. I mean, snow they get over the winter and how they clear it in the spring for the park to open. And doesn't always open, I'll say, on time, because Mother Nature can dump a lot of snow. But I also will share with your viewers a couple hidden gems on my road trip I discovered. Yellowstone, as you said, all those wonderful things. But just south of Yellowstone, there's a Grand Teton National Park where I parked the RV for a couple days, and it is off the beaten path, but it's close. So you could see a lot of the similar things, more wildlife because you didn't have as much traffic. The Grand Canyon was fun to go to, but outside of Amarillo, Texas, there's a state park that was built the exact same way as the Grand Canyon. So you get that adventure there. And you got the Grand Texans that eat that big steak and the Cadillac Ranch.
Oh yeah,
outside of Amarillo.
I've been to that stuff. Yeah. Because I drive to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I like Santa Fe, New Mexico, and you got to stop at the Big Texan. The Cadillac Ranch. You go paint the cars. Well,
and that's why next time you go through, Steve, plan a stop and just drop south. Texas State Park, just south of Amarillo.
Yeah, I've never been there. So yeah.
If you do it in the summer, I was not there when they were doing they do a show. Madera, North Dakota also does a show at night. They're both similar community performances, song, dance. The one in Madera, North Dakota, you're watching the sunset in the prairie. It was fabulous. And the one in Amarillo, Texas, the state park, that's kind of my bucket list. I need to get back out there and enjoy that show. So next time you're in Amarillo, plan to check out that state park.
Okay, I will. Another good place for the listeners to go to is the Stockyards. Great restaurant that's attached there to the Stockyards, and you get steak cheap. $4 steak is a $60 steak in St. Louis. Yeah. So
I told Rebecca one of the best steaks I got was outside of drawing a blank now. It's in North Dakota. It's got the huge buffalo. It's like the world's largest buffalo. I stopped there and got an amazing steak. But Steve, I actually want to give you a thank you. The Conch Country, the little store that you and your wife got Christmas ornaments. I went back in there, nice couple, and I've actually thrown up a review, and now when I do my tours, I point it out because it is charming. It's one of those hidden gems that I want to thank you for turning me on.
That's special there, because to me, that is what the romanticized version of Key West is to me. Northerners that just love going down there and going on vacation, change their lives, sell all their stuff, move down there to a very small place, open a business, and it's a mom and pop place. This is an older couple, and they're just as cute as can be. He was a military guy himself. She kind of runs all the store stuff, and then he carves ornaments and stuff like that, and it's just fantastic. The craftsmanship, and they're cheap. You get we bought several of them. I want to get every single one he's got. I want the tree to be filled with those ornaments because they're cool. I mean,
they are. And talking with, he's actually like, I'm getting some pressure. We need to enjoy being down here. So he's actually trying to scale back the wood carving, which, the value. I mean, as you said, the price and what you're getting is amazing. So it's a kind of a cool little thing that's right there. And of course, being from Michigan, I'm used to Bronner's Christmas shop, which is like a warehouse with every possible ornament. Well, this Key West version it's a great comparison. You got the everything you could want for Christmas, but the country store just got some very unique, small, hand carved, the Russian dolls, a couple of the other things that just make it fun.
Yeah, that's a special place because there's not many places like that where it's the mom and pop thing, and they walk to work. They live right down the street, and oh man, it's just that to me is kind of what all of us want to do when we go down there. We're like, we want to move to Key West, and
Well,
what would we do? And that's kind of people living that dream, that live that dream.
yeah, I've got a couple friends that are they got a little wood shop and they tinker with their fishing. They're looking forward to retiring. They buy a house.
Right.
Military folks, they get a job on base and they're trying to get that civilian retirement to go with their military so they can afford to retire down here. And they're like, ooh, we might need to keep working a little bit longer. I mean, that's just, I'm in a fortunate position that we're here doing tours, having fun. And again, there's some great people down here. Steve, I actually want to give a shout out real quick. I'm going to turn my laptop over because Kaylee, I don't know if Ben, I don't know if she was in town, but this is, she did my ghost tour. So that's Robert Duval, which we'll talk about when you guys come back. But this is kind of got, the rooster. She actually put a tutu to honor the fun of Key West and Tutu Tuesday during Fantasy Fest. But she did this and she's in Mallory Square doing different things. And next Tuesday, it's a shame you're not here because it's the 22nd day of the second month, which falls on a Tuesday. So the Tutu and Company is hosting a tutu party that's should be an amazing adventure here in Key West. So if you want to feel like you're in Key West and you're watching this in time, throw a tutu on Tuesday, have a cocktail, throw some glitter in it, and I'll post some photos or send some stuff so you can kind of enjoy it for those who can't come down here.
Yeah. You told me that The Price is Right is getting ready to be there. Is this an actual filming that'll be like on the regular show, or is it like one of these it's like an event type of thing where they just sell tickets and they recreate what it's like to be on the show, but it's not actually filmed for the TV?
And that's why I kind of mentioned, because I saw when you were watching one of your videos to kind of get ready, I see The Price is right behind you. And I have heard both things. I have heard both. It's going to be film, it's going to be recorded to air, and it's also just a small town. It's going to be just kind of a local community thing that people are there going to have.
Because they've done that like the Fox Theater, that they'll come in and it's actually, it truly is The Price is Right, and you're playing for prizes, but it's just so you can get the experience.
And they've got a way that you can apply to be a contestant. You can buy tickets, and they can make it very clear. Buying a ticket does not necessarily qualify you to be a contestant. You have to go through this application process. And being a fan of The Price is Right, watching it over the years, there's many times where they have filmed around this country. So
are you going to put in to be a contestant, Whiskey Rick?
No, actually one of my other jobs is working security at the concert venue. So I will have an orange shirt on, making sure everyone's having fun. And it's like I got Willie Nelson put on a show here that I was right in front of the stage for that. We've got Luke Combs coming, Chris Young, Kenny Chesney played the theater. So 250 people, I got to see him play. That was kind of a fortunate thing.
250,
when we started off, Kenny said, "This is not my stadium show. This is a small theater. I'm gonna play songs that you might not have heard." And what's kind of cool is he would explain each song, where it came from. And then the one that strikes out the most is he's like, after Hurricane Maria hit the Virgin Islands, and again, Kenny loves Key West, he loves the Caribbean. He wrote a song based on what he saw in the Virgin Islands. That he goes, I gave to Ziggy Marley to record. He goes, I should have kept it because Ziggy made a lot of money, and then he played it, and it was very enjoyable. But you hear those stories, and oh, by the way, Jimmy Buffett is on the island right now. He was at the new Margaritaville Hotel the other day. So that's kind of got this town in a buzz and all that. See if he jumps up on stage at the restaurant or somewhere else. But so for The Price is Right, I will be working at like the other concerts I do.
Gotcha. Have you ever been to one of my favorite beach is Sanibel Island? Have you ever been there? Because it's not too terribly far from.
No, actually, my grandparents lived in Cape Coral, right south of Fort Myers. So as a kid, we would take I-75 from Michigan down, spend spring break at grandma's and grandpa's, and Sanibel Island. Would go out and collect seashells, and that was gorgeous. And that's where everyone, when they're down here, we can get seashells. Well, there's only one place you can surf because we have the reefs protecting us. The trade-off is no surfing, no seashells.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My wife loves the seashells, so that's why we go. So we'll be hitting Sanibel this summer. We're gonna go, I think late season, like August or something like that. We're gonna go.
Well, I've got tickets on the ferry. The ferry that goes to Naples and Fort Myers, they do local specials a couple times, and I picked up a couple tickets. So let me know. I'm looking for a good reason to jump on the ferry and check out Fort Myers. So
heck yeah, man. That's cool. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. That's kind of our place. I also like Pensacola Beach too. So sometimes we'll go. That's easier. We can get there in like 10 and a half hours drive, so it's not too bad. And yeah, some good food there, and it's low key. It's not overly commercialized.
No, and that's I've not been to Pensacola Beach, but I have been to Orange, the Gulf Coast, and Orange, Alabama. My brother actually, his family has got.
That's a lot more crowded, but
there's an uncle or something that he's got a place on the beach, so we stopped, visited with him there, and that's
the beach is the same, like that white sand. It's beautiful, the beach, but that one's definitely a little bit more commercialized. Orange Beach, along with
but that whole stretch there, and that's where it's. In the winter, it's you get snow up there. So that's as you get the further south you get, the warmer it stays year round. But that's gorgeous place, especially in summer. That's that whole from Pensacola to Orange Beach. They said different areas have kind of commercialized a little bit more. And I'm trying to think of the other Niceville or something. Yeah, there's a couple other places that are in that area. And again, this is where Florida, the Sunshine State, we got so much coastline that it's a lot of good beaches.
What about your son? Is he into Disney? Do you guys, make it up to that? Being in Florida, again, it could be a nice weekend trip for you or something like that.
Yeah. Well, when we first moved here, we went to Disney, took advantage of their military salute tickets, which again, appreciate companies that do that. And Disney had a very great program. And so we had a lot of fun there, but, last fall, John's like, I'm tired of Disney. Can we go somewhere else? So we went to Universal, and we might make a run up to SeaWorld. I mean, that's one of the things. There's all these great places.
Gatorland. Have you been to Gatorland?
Not yet.
I love it. I love it because it's like so old school feeling. It's
cool. We did a Gator ride, one of those boats when we lived in Miami. The thing, when you're in Key West, as you guys experience, when you're trying to get to Key West, the cost and time is tough. So with folks trying to get down here, they're dealing with that. Well, when you live down here, trying to get out has got those same challenges. So I mean, Orlando's 6-7 hours away, depending on traffic. But when you're down here, it's kind of like, why do I need to leave? We've kind of got so much to do. And my son's at that age now where he'd rather hang with his buddies. Their Friday afternoon thing. I mean, the school's done. They're all getting together here. They're walking to Summerlin Key, which is the island right next to us, and they're going to go get ice cream. That's kind of like there's 6 or 7 of them that walk over, get ice cream, kind of hang out. That's their Friday happy hour. And sometimes a couple weeks ago, I had 8 of them here for the rest of the night. Sometimes it's 1 or 2. Sometimes they'll go to one of the other places and hang out. That's why it's kind of cool being down here. The kids, all know each other. The parents, it's a small community. So
I don't know how you do this now. As a St. Louis guy, we had options, and when my daughter would bring over her friends, you're talking about teenagers, and it's a mixed company, so it's boys and girls, and she'd have 15 or 20 of them over. I would always go to Little Caesars because they got those $5 pizzas, and kids don't care. That's not the pizza I like. I don't like eating Little Caesars, but the kids didn't care, so I'd buy 10 of those or something like that. So you're only in it for $50. You can get into some real costs there when you get a bunch of teenage boys eating at the house, I would guess.
The milk consumption goes way up.
They're bottomless, aren't they? It's unbelievable.
That's why when you laugh about pizza, people all say, "What's your favorite pizza?" Well, Rusticon Stock Island's amazing.
Really,
Clements and Olliewood in Key West are fabulous. But I will usually say Domino's.
Really,
because I'm picking up the special, taking it home because, like you said, with your daughter, the kids are just wolfing it down. I'll take a look what's on sale at the Winn-Dixie. I'll grab some stuff and throw it in the oven and cook it for those guys. They're just scarfing it down. But
where were you living when you made this decision that things aren't working out? I got to get my son into school. Where were you living at that point? So right before you moved to Key West.
The RV was parked in Quantico, Virginia.
Okay.
A little campground, Aquia Pines, right outside the Marine Corps base. I was kind of at that point, I was kind of looking at maybe trying to get I was still reservist. Actually, I was attached to a unit in Europe. So I would travel to Stuttgart, Germany, to do my drills and do my training.
Yeah.
But I was looking at possibly being a civilian worker or a contractor, and of course, being in the DC area, that is there. Well, the RV, I actually had some military obligations in Quantico that summer. So I took the RV there, kind of was like, okay, maybe this is a place to kind of get a job, settle down. But once I got there, I was like, this isn't quite right. So we're hanging out, homeschooling. The third grader, Steve, is very humbling. When he's doing something, you're like, oh no, that's not right. He's like, yes, it is, Daddy. No, it's not. Here, hold on, let me Google it up. The third time he was right, I'm like, okay, I'm done teaching.
Right.
But we had been in Miami, so I'd worked out going to Miami to trick or treat with some of his buddies from Miami. So while we're down there, a little side trip to Key West, and I was kind of like, this might be the place. And I actually locked on an RV campground. So when we got back from Halloween trick or treating, I rolled into transitioning the RV, the car down, getting him enrolled in school. And again, that was the intent, was just 6 months down in the sun. He goes to school. I don't have to be the cook, chauffeur, teacher, travel planner. We're parked, we're stationary. I can enjoy the sun. Got down here. The Key Deer Refuge actually had a winter camp designed for snowbirds. I was the youngest person by about 20 years in that group.
Right.
But it was fun. We kayaked through some of the mangroves. They were sharing different parts of Big Pine in that area. And it kind of was like opened my eyes to a few things, and like everything else kind of started falling into place. So as I am trying to figure out what's next, all right, the RV rental slot's coming up in a few months. What am I doing next? I'm like, I think I'll just stay. So I kind of, again, the RV, we transitioned into a home. So John was able to get his own room, get set up, and now he's got his own room in his own house, and that gave him a lot of stability, because that lad, I mean, he's bounced around. He was born on the Marine Corps base in 29 Palms, California. He did his formative daycare years at the Air Force Academy, which was amazing. And then he moves to Miami, where he does kindergarten, first grade, and then we go on the road for second and most of third grade. So he's been kind of all over. So being down here, and once we rented the house, and now we bought a house, he's been able to actually, it's sad, but some of his friends are moving. Now, rather than him being the one leaving, he's making friends, and a couple of them are leaving, but a lot of them are staying down here. That's where the parents, we're all kind of in agreement. We're watching each other's kids. There's things they can do, and it's, I mean, it's a crazy world we're living in. But when you're watching each other's kids, it's more parents, more responsibility. I mean, well, I was down here for a little while, and something happened. I'm like, oh, there was a half day, I forgot. And the parents, I got him. I'm bringing him home, and everyone's like, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So as someone who's lived in, the Keys for a little while now, do you plan days when you drive up to the big city, which would be Miami, and do shopping and stuff like that? Go to Trader Joe's and all that kind of stuff that you don't have down there.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I said last weekend we're up at Grandma and Grandpa's, and yes, Trader Joe's, Costco, Target, or Target, as we like to say.
Yeah.
We joke we're closer to Cuba than a Walmart. The big news is the Kmart that was here when you were here has announced they're closing. So one of the last Kmarts in the country is going to be closing in Key West. So with that, there's going to be no department store, but Amazon's the biggest delivery person. I do have friends that plan a trip up once a month to pick up stuff, but because of Amazon and because of some other, delivery services, it's kind of, I will go 4 or 5 months without going up to the mainland at all. And then over the course of 2 months, I might have 5 trips up there. I mean, the VA has been great for me.
Yeah.
But a lot of the resources in Miami, or go see Grandma and Grandpa, or other things are, again, lived in Miami. So some friends are having some events, and it's like, yeah, we'll come up and we'll do that. So you can go months without crossing the 7 Mile Bridge to even Marathon. And then there's times where you're going over that at a very regular rate.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen with that Kmart location? I mean, it seems like Walmart might come in. It seems like it'd be a community of big enough size to support a Walmart, and then you've got people that travel in from all over. And it's kind of been It's that's
Walmart
a nice area because you can actually go there and park, and there's plenty
yeah,
of room, and
yeah.
it's
When
not
I
in
was
Old Town or anything.
moving down here, Walmart had been in discussions to go on Rockland Key, which is one past Stock Island. So,
Okay.
and there was also rumor of a Chick-fil-A there, but both Chick-fil-A and Walmart at this point are not coming to the Keys. When the Sears closed, there was talk about making that into like a housing project. Now, I don't want to use the word project. I probably should use community. Try and turn a huge Sears store into workforce housing, set up pods, set up things so you could have a number of people living there. There's plenty of parking. Um, and the city actually held a meeting to do that. They just forgot to invite the owners of the property.
Really?
So, yes. And that was kind of one of those, I thought you were inviting them. I thought you were inviting them. You're like, I heard that story after the fact. It was kind of disappointing, but maybe with the Kmart closing, maybe they can get that so they could take that vision, put it there to provide for those people who, want to live down here. And, if you're living down here and in Key West, as you saw, if you have a bike, you're at the beach, you're here, there, everywhere. You just need a place to have clean clothes, to get some safe quality sleep. You don't necessarily need, your needs are a little different. It's kind of like when you're on a cruise ship. How much are you in your room? How much are you up on the deck doing this, doing that?
Right.
So, maybe that space could be utilized for that. I don't know. A buddy's applying to be the housing manager for the city of Key West, so I might put that plug into his ear if he gets the position. We'll see what happens with the Kmart, because that's, and this is across the country. You're seeing storefronts closing because of online being able to deliver.
Amazon.
Yeah,
You
we
get
just
everything
need
you need.
a physical location for people to bring returns or try things on or different things. So, the malls that you and I grew up with, it's tough for stores to compete.
Right. Yeah.
We still have a Radio Shack here in Big Pine. So if you
Really?
need stuff, we
Radio
still have
Shack.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, very cool. So if someone is coming to Key West, and how do they engage you? What, or what do you have, a menu of things you do, or do you do custom things? Let's just talk a little bit about working with Whiskey Rick.
Yeah, no, thank you. I am on Airbnb, so they got experiences, which is kind of cool because they really vet them. In order to get my tours listed, they were asking all these questions, doing some background. So when people book with Airbnb, they get these opportunities they can do throughout the country. You don't have to book with Airbnb, you just have to have an account to get in there and see it. So that's where I'm marketing primarily. But I'm getting most of my business now from folks like you, and I appreciate you putting my name out there. Referrals are key because I can show them these are the menu of tours I have. What would you like? And kind of like your idea, the seaport. I'm working with a couple friends right now to come up with that history of the seaport, kind of working from one end to the other and sharing with you all and being prepared to answer some of the questions you've given me. So I had someone a couple days ago text me and say, hey, so-and-so said I need to look you up. And I'll just say the one thing, folks, reach out a couple weeks before you get here, because a lot of people will reach out, hey, we're in town for the next 3 days. I may or may not be available.
You're not sitting around waiting for these things.
Yeah, and that's
right.
I got so much stuff going on that a lot of the tour company, a lot of people are, when the cruise ship comes in, people will be hanging out waiting to pick up people coming off the ship. Well, they're not coming in that much anymore, but there are still a lot of tourists in here going up to the stands, booking tours for that day, that night. Because I live, basically, it's a 23-mile drive, but it could be a 55-minute commute. So I kind of have my schedule set a few days in advance. I got flexibility, but and the other thing I like to do is kind of give people ideas. I mean, everyone, when you go on the different forums, hey, what's the must do? Well, if you get seasick in the bathtub, going out to the dry Tortugas is not a must do. You want to fish. Are you a flats fisher, deep sea fisher? You want to do both. Someone says, hey, I'm coming down to surf. Oh, buddy, this is not the place to surf. Or I'm a big golfer. Great, we have one golf course.
The weather's great for it, but not a lot of courses.
So I just, when people start making their reservations, that's the other thing is I always my biggest question is, do you have your transportation locked down or lodging? What's more important? Because airlines are crazy, or like you do, you drive that, so it gives you a little more stability. But so you're fine finding lodging, and people will say, hey, we're looking for a deal. All the rooms are this price. Folks, everyone's wanting to come down here. This is supply and demand. We have a limited number of rooms and people are paying ridiculous amounts. So when you say you want to pay half the rack rate, okay, do you want clean sheets?
Right.
That's so I say, once when people are thinking about coming down, I'm happy to help give some ideas, try and point them in the right direction, whether they want to do weekly condo rental or a hotel for a couple nights. And then again, kind of help which museums. As I share with you, there's a couple of museums I've not been in. One I was just in for the first time, and the Audubon House is fabulous. Why didn't I go in there before? I wait for someone to come in town. Hey, let's go in there.
Right.
That's just how, again, we all live in our, how many things in St. Louis have you not done in 20
Oh
years
yeah.
or have you
Yeah.
never done?
Yeah.
And that's how it is in Key West. So yeah, if people are coming, please reach out to me, when you're starting to make your plans, or at least a month, a couple weeks out. Because when you come to town and say, hey, I'm here, come join me at Sloppy Joe's. Well, there's places, I love Sloppy Joe's. It's actually got good food, great music, but that's where everyone's going. I like to take people, as you saw, to those hidden gems, just a couple blocks off, have a different experience. But I'm not necessarily able to I'll be there in 5 minutes. With that said, a couple times I'm like, hey, I'm finishing a tour. Sure, I'll meet you there in 20 minutes. So,
Yeah.
But again, the more time so we can properly plan, that's key. And that's where, when you get down to Key West, I often say your first trip down is your recon. You get a feel for the island. You get a feel for what's out there. And you need to already be planning your next trip before you leave, because there's just so much to see and do. And hopefully you gotten that salt air into your lungs and you're like, yes, I've got Keys disease. I need to come back. Like Harry Truman.
Yeah.
He comes down for a week and 12 weeks later, he is back again.
Yeah, that's cool. So anything you want to share, website, phone number, email, how best to get a hold of you?
Steve, love you, appreciate you. You've got my business card. That's got my email, my phone number. I don't have a website.
Okay. We've got you down on ABV Network website too. So abvnetwork.com if you're listening to this. And we've got a Key West page because we do our yearly trip down there, and because Rick's kind of our host there, so we've got his contact information. If you're looking for that, just check us out at abvnetwork.com, click on Key West.
Appreciate everything, Steve. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, good fun. So appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot, buddy. Talk to you soon. Okay.
We'll see you down here.
All right. Bye.